Hello and welcome to Staying Ahead of the Curve. I'm Jeff Snyder, Vice President and Senior Consultant with Cammack Retirement Group, and we're live here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, at the National Association of State Retirement Administrators annual conference. And I'm joined today by Dana Bilyeu from NASRA. Dana, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to see if you would talk a little bit about NASRA. Typically, there's not a lot of press that come to this event, or none at all. We're very privileged as a show to be able to come in and kind of see the behind the scenes. So we thank you very much for allowing us to do that. At NASRA, there's a lot of camaraderie, and I talked about in the earlier segment with Keith and Alex, the roll call of the states. And I wonder if you wouldn't mind talking about the organization and that camaraderie.
Certainly. Well, and I've had a long history with NASRA because as I came up to be a director in Nevada, this is the organization for the directors, the CEOs of the state pension funds. And as you probably are aware, there really are not a lot of similar positions inside states. And so for any of them to be able to talk about the same types of problems that they're facing, they have to have a national association, and that's really what NASRA is for. It's for them to be able to network with each other, to gain great insight into what's going on around the country, talk about the industry as a whole, although even though we always talk that way, all of the states are very, very different one from another. And so we have similarities and differences, and I think that makes this organization just a great spot for people to come in and get comfortable with it and get comfortable with each other and get comfortable in their roles.
You've got a really great culture at NASRA, and again, in terms of fostering that camaraderie. Taking a step back, this is obviously an important conference. It's probably a challenging conference to put together. You've got all these logistics. From an organizational point of view, how do you how long does it take to put this all together?
Well, I have to tell you that the executive committee of the organization is really the one who spends the lion's share of time doing the work for this. I'm sort of the coordinator of everything, but they focus on what the theme is going to be. And we try and coalesce around a theme for each time, and that sort of helps us set the program going forward. We start back a year ahead of these programs, getting them going. And, obviously there's a lot of controversy, a lot of issues in the public sector people are interested in, talking about the accounting rules, which most people don't think is super interesting, but of course we do, the actuarial profession as well. And obviously there's about $3.5 trillion under management in this group, and so money management as well is very important. And so we try and bring all pieces of what people have to use to do their jobs to this conference. And that's kind of our job in the first place, is to create a program that's not only a great way for people to get to know each other better, but also for them to get great education when they're here.
So we did talk to Alex and Keith in terms of getting the kind of level set, I should say, on what's going on. But from your perspective, when you look around the country and you talk to your peers and you talk to the people in the association, what's top of mind?
For me, when I look across the country, it's really the same theme, but being applied differently. Everyone is concerned about risk management. I think risk management sort of tops everything, not just only investment risk, but also industrial risk, where you have issues relative to technology and other things. So risk is sort of a focus for this organization. From an external perspective, people are concerned. These are obviously very large trust funds, and everyone is concerned, including the members of this organization, that they're managed appropriately and they're managed in the best interest of the members and beneficiaries.
And that's something I've always been impressed about in talking with people within the organization, is that sense of ownership and that fiduciary, if you will, responsibility to make sure that the members' assets and the members are taken care of, really.
Absolutely. From a fiduciary perspective, I don't think you have a group of people who are more dedicated to ensuring that these assets will be working for their members and beneficiaries into the future. There's a lot of controversy about how they do that, but this group is singularly focused on it, and it's not something that is surprising to them that there's so much interest in what's going on relative to the management of these pension funds.
Changing gears a little bit on the personal level, you mentioned it before, you were the head of the Nevada pension system, but you've had a very interesting and varied career. Sure. For those aspiring to move into the leadership role today, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your career, sure, how you rose to the ranks, so to speak, the levels that you achieved, et cetera.
Well, I've been blessed with a lot of great opportunities as well, but I started my career as the attorney for the Public Pension Fund in Nevada. So I started on the legal side of things in the Attorney General's office, and I don't even want to tell you how long ago that was. Started there and was general counsel to the pension fund for about 5 years. Then moved directly to the pension fund in 1995 as the operations officer. And as I think my background as a lawyer is a great one for that. I think there's a lot of great backgrounds for lawyers, accounting, but you have to sort of really get into pension law and the fiduciary side of it. It's just a really fascinating area. And I was 8 years as the operations officer, and then I became the executive officer in Nevada in 2003, and I was there until 13. So about 10 years as the director there. During that time, I also had some great opportunities to work with the federal government as well. I was on the Social Security Advisory Board, and those are presidential appointments. So it was for me because I was a Nevada resident. It was because of Senator Reid that nominated me both for the Social Security Advisory Board and for the Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board, which is where I still sit at this time.
And you bring up the federal thrift. I mean, that is an interesting plan unto itself. It's cited in a lot of reform conversations. I wonder, to the extent you can, because I know it's a board that you currently serve on, can you share some of what you see at the federal level, what you see with that plan?
Well, certainly, I think the first thing I have to say is, as all federal folks need to say, that my comments are only my comments and not the comments of the board itself or the Thrift Savings Plan. The Thrift Savings Plan is from my perspective, a really, really well-designed defined contribution plan. Very simple in its approach. I think Congress took a lot of time in the 80s to design it, a lot of input, still a lot of interest in making changes to it, but that simple structure of the 5 funds and then the lifestyle funds on top of that I think it's a great opportunity. The federal plan is basically a 3-legged stool, which is what we always talk about when we talk about retirement. We talk about Social Security and some type of personal savings, and then of course a defined benefit plan, which is the feds still have that. And that's really what, even at the state levels, that's what we focus on. I mean, there are states that have Social Security and some states that don't. I happen to come from a state that didn't have Social Security. So our pension fund in Nevada was always one that had to have 2 of the 3 legs covered inside the pension fund, and then they had a personal savings side as well. So, but the federal program is often cited. It's on its way to $500 billion. It's very significant from an assets under management perspective, but also for the 4.2 million Americans that participate in it.
It's really exciting, and I agree. I think we agree that it's like the model for many other plans that are in existence today.
I think so.
Dana, thank you so much for allowing us to come
Sure.
into the conference. We wish you all the best for this week, and hope that all the camaraderie continues and the sharing of ideas.
Sure.
And look forward to seeing the results of all those conversations.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.